Chapter 1641, Inside Story. Sun Kuahung sat down and tugged at the corners of his lips indifferently while looking at Fang Shiyu. I'm here on behalf of Shennan. On behalf of Shennan. Fang Shiyu repeated, and his expression changed slightly. Who are you? What's your relationship with Shennan? The man in front of him brought a strange sense of pressure on Fang Shiyu. The man was taller than him and had a better physique than him. But all these were not the main point. Fang Shiyu was now a middle-aged man, whose body had gained weight. His whole body was filled with soft fats. On the other end of the spectrum, Sun Kuahung, who was similarly middle-aged, had a toned and muscular body. Even with a jacket, there was no way of completely concealing his toned body. Sun Kuahung's agile posture and strong physique were envied by all men, yet not everyone could build a body like that. In the face of such an incredibly strong man, Fang Shiyu naturally felt extremely stressed as someone of the same gender. Actually, what you want to ask is what my relationship with Shengnan is and what rights I have to sit here representing Shennan, right? Sun Kuahung raised his eyebrows. You'll understand once you see this. Sun Kuahung handed over an invitation to the wedding between him and Su Shennan. You and Shennan had an unpleasant past, but I'm still grateful to you. Without you, I might never have met such a good woman like her at the right time. An invitation? Who's getting married? Fang Shiyu's hands trembled. He was fearful and did not dare to open it. I'm getting married to Shennan at the end of next month. Shennan and I will be elated if you are able to join us. I promise you that I'll treat Ling Ling like my own daughter. Oh, right, please don't bother with a red packet. Shennan and I won't mind about it. It was not easy. He was finally getting married at such an old age. At the thought of this, Sun Kuahung's face was almost filled with tears. No matter how he saw it, it was all because he had a good sister-in-law. If not for his sister-in-law, he would not have been able to win over his future father-in-law and mother-in-law so quickly. Even before the year came to an end, he would be able to hug his wife to sleep every night from now on. Sun Kuahung was very clear that he had appeared very suddenly in front of the Su family. Apart from Ling Ling's acceptance of him, father and mother Su had only accepted him in such a short time entirely because of Jiao Nan. It was because of this good sister-in-law that he could have Su Shennan as his wife so soon. Without his sister-in-law, this good wife might not even be his. Fang Shiyu threw the invitation back onto the table loudly. You're getting married to Su Shennan? Nonsense! Do you know who I am? I'm Su Shennan's husband. Do you have a death wish to say that you're marrying my wife in front of me? Fang Shiyu's shrill voice immediately drew the attention of everyone in the restaurant. It was not uncommon to see mistresses fighting with the original. The problem was that these people were usually women. Today, both the mistress and the original wife were both men. That was rare indeed. Who was this woman that these men were willing to fight over? But no matter whether they were male or female, the third party would always be beaten. Was Sun Kuahung willing to suffer because of Fang Shiyu? Fang Shiyu. When Shennan found out about your affair a few years ago, the two of you already got a divorce. Since then, you've had no relationship with her. To Shennan, you're just her ex-husband now. You've been divorced for so many years now. I'm not married, and neither is she. So why can't we get married? Oh, that's right. Besides the wedding invitation, I have something else to show you. At that time, you got a divorce from Shennan for the sake of your mistress. Seeing that we are both men, I'm going to tell you about this so that you won't always be bullied. That child isn't yours. It's someone else's. The photographs are all here. You can look at them yourself. And this is how your son will look like when he grows up. You can just compare it to that man in the photograph and see if it looks like that man or you. A plot twist. A godlike plot twist. That so-called husband was actually an ex, and the so-called third party was a new lover whom the woman had found years after that couple had gotten divorced. The biggest plot twist was that the ex had gotten a divorce for the sake of his son in his mistress' stomach, but that third party had another affair, and that son was actually someone else's son. Interesting. Too interesting. It was way more interesting than soap operas. That's impossible. That's impossible. These are all fake. I won't believe a single thing you say. You're lying to me just to help Shannon get revenge on me. That's why you created these photos, just to cheat me, right? You two are downright disgusting. You're a pair of bast *RDS. I won't accept that man like woman Su Shannon even if you give her to me. And you're treating her like your treasure? Please suit yourself. I'll wait for your retribution. I won't let today's matter slide. Just you wait. Fang Shiyu was raging, just shy of flipping the table. After yelling at Sun Kuahung, he collected the photographs on the table without missing a single one and stuffed them into his bag. All these photographs are fake. I won't leave them in your hands, lest you and Su Shannon use them to humiliate me again. I'm going to destroy them. He, Sun Kuahung sneered. They were both men. He had taken all the photographs without leaving even just one behind, and he even claimed that he was going to destroy them. Who was he kidding? If he really meant to destroy them, could he not just spill coffee over them? After sitting for a while, Sun Kuahung finally cursed. F***ck. That fool ran off without paying. He's too stingy to even pay for a cup of coffee that costs less than 100 yuan. No wonder he's shameless enough to ask Shannon to reconcile with him. I'm afraid that this fool, Fang Shiyu, has a cleaner pocket than face. Shameless indeed. There was no other choice. Fang Shiyu had already escaped, and Sun Kuahung could not possibly run after him. Sun Kuahung could only pay for Fang Shiyu's cup of coffee. This angered Sun Kuahung so much that he swore to chase Fang Shiyu for that money once he had the opportunity. It was not that he was too poor to treat someone to coffee. But he was really unwilling to spend his money on someone like Fang Shiyu. That was truly a waste of money. Just as Sun Kuahung had expected, Fang Shiyu had taken all the photographs not because he was afraid that Sun Kuahung and Su Shannon would use them to slander him. Fang Shiyu was hoping to see if he could use these photographs to find out where his true love was and to see if that child looked like the boy in the photograph now that he had grown up. The boy in the photograph was about 5 or 6 years old and was rotund and chubby. Unfortunately, the boy's skin was too dark, unlike Fang Shiyu, who had pale skin and good facial features. Chapter 1642, The Cheeky Girl. The boy's facial features were nothing like Fang Shiyu's. Their skin tones didn't match either. Aside from gender, nothing was similar. However, this child looked like the old man who had a beer belly and was laughing awkwardly in the photo. Even though they weren't 70 to 80% alike, they were definitely 40 to 50% alike. If this boy who could run and jump wasn't the baby, then who he looked like had nothing to do with Fang Shiyu. What made Fang Shiyu troubled was that the age of the boy in the photo matched the baby who was taken away then. In the photo, his true love, that awkward-looking man, and the little boy who was holding a ball were standing together and smiling. Anyone who saw them would say that they were a happy family of 3. Mom, take a look. Do you recognize this little boy? Fang Shiyu took a deep breath. After returning home, he only took out the photo of the boy playing alone. He was afraid that his mother would jump to conclusions if she saw the other photos first. Mother Fang was shocked. Didn't Shiyu go to talk to Shannon about their remarriage? Why did he let her take a look at a photo once he returned home? Mother Fang lowered her head. I have never seen this child before. He's not from our community, right? Mother Fang's first reaction was to deny it. After taking a look again, she sighed. How coincidental. This boy looks just like my grandson. Look at the neck here. There's a big black mole. Do children nowadays like to grow a black mole here? Mother Fang had taken care of that grandson for only 4 months and had never seen him since then. However, even if it was just a short 4 months, she had a certain understanding of this grandchild whom she had waited so eagerly for. Mother Fang could still remember it clearly even after 5 or 6 years later. Initially, Fang Shiyu was hoping that his guess could still be true. However, after hearing his mother's words, Fang Shiyu knew that Sun Qiaheng didn't lie to him. Back then, the child his true love had been pregnant with wasn't his son. No wonder when he asked her to go out and find a job, she had dragged on for a few months and then became determined to get a divorce with him when the child was 4 months old. When she left, she didn't take anything along with her. All her clothes were still in his house. She only walked out with her son. This woman was still the woman he knew who wouldn't be able to survive without a man. The reason why she had walked out so easily was that she had found the child's birth father during that period of time. With a new financier, she would, of course, just throw him aside and bring her son to find his birth father to enjoy life. No one in this world would care how much Fang Shiyu had suffered, other than Mother Fang. However, for Sanbao, who had just returned home from vacation, the whole world had changed in these short 2 months when she was studying in school. Mom, are you joking with me, or are you for real? Ling Ling is going to have a father soon? Who is it? Does Ling Ling know about it? Has she agreed to her mother remarrying? How rare! Ling Ling didn't want her birth father but was willing to accept a stepfather? This was insane. It looks like Ling Ling has been quite tight-lipped this time and hid this from you, Xiao Nan said in a gloating manner. Ling Ling has interacted with this new father for almost a year now. If not for her saying that she wanted this new father, your Auntie Su might have dragged for another year before remarrying. Sun Qiaheng was not bad and knew how to please the young girl. He had coaxed Ling Ling until she was now calling him father. When she thought of how Su Ling Ling, who was initially the one who found it most difficult to accept Sun Qiaheng, had become the first to accept Sun Qiaheng, Xiao Nan could only say that they should really be a family. Sanbao's lips twitched. I find it so incredible. Mom, are you sure that Ling Ling really accepted this man? Ling Ling is also hiding this from me? Impossible. Xiao Nan comforted her daughter's broken heart after pinching her tender face. You can call Ling Ling and ask for yourself if this is real. Based on Sanbao's temper, she would definitely settle scores with Ling Ling. However, Ling Ling was clever. She would definitely have thought of how to coax Sanbao. As such, Xiao Nan wasn't worried for Ling Ling and her daughter at all. Let the children take care of their own affairs. I have to call her. If she can't give me a satisfactory answer for this matter, look how I'll deal with her in the future. To think that before she attended university, she was still worried about Ling Ling's B***starred father. Ling Ling had never mentioned that Auntie Su was already in a situation. What little conscience she had. In the end, Xiao Nan didn't interfere with how Sanbao and Ling Ling resolved this matter. As long as the two of them didn't throw tantrums and were as close as birth sisters, the adults would naturally be happy to see favorable outcomes. Su Shennan and Sun Qiaheng got married on New Year's Day. It was rare for the weather to be great then. It could only be said that even the weather was favorable. Sanbao flicked a finger against Ling Ling's forehead. How does it feel to watch your birth mother marry another man? Is it still the same as what you told me before? Were you so happy that you couldn't fall asleep? Ling Ling had explained to her why she didn't tell her about this in the past. Sanbao expressed that this was the Su family's matters after all. She didn't need to know the specific details since this wasn't her life. As long as Su Ling Ling herself felt that this was good, the rest didn't matter. Furthermore, Auntie Su hadn't accepted Uncle Sun yet. Ling Ling was afraid that it would be inappropriate to reveal this matter too early. When she thought of how Sun Qiaheng was a soldier brought out by Zai Sheng, Sanbao felt a little complicated in her heart. Before this, why didn't she know that a retired soldier who was previously under her father had started a business in the capital? It's a little uncomfortable. Su Lingling sniffed. From today onward, I'll no longer be called Su Lingling. I'm going to be Sun Lingling. I'm not an adult yet, but I already have 3 names. I'm really not used to it. I don't know if I can react in time next time someone calls me Sun Lingling. Upset? Of course she was upset. Her mother had initially belonged to her. Even if she didn't have a father, as long as her mother was around, she would feel that she was more fortunate than other children. However, from today onward, her mother no longer belonged to her alone. She was going to share her with another person. Sanbao rolled her eyes at Sun Lingling. Don't think that I dare not lay a hand on you as your mother's getting married today. Little girl, asking for trouble. Chapter 1643, Playing Matchmaker. He dared to fool around in front of her. Sun Lingling, who had taken a blow, could only reply honestly. I'm actually all right. Sister Yu, don't worry about me. My new dad is a very good person. I'm only saying this because it's you. I wouldn't tell anyone else. What do you mean? Sanbao raised her eyebrow and leaned in. Hurry and tell me. Sun Lingling bit on her lip. My new dad said that I'll be his only daughter in his entire life. In the future, he'll leave everything to me. You know, I'm not eyeing my new dad's money, but I'm quite happy that I won't be having any younger siblings in the future. With a new dad to fight with her over her mom, Sun Lingling already felt a small sense of loss. If there was one more child in the family, Sun Lingling was not sure that she would be able to adjust and adapt if that day were really to come. Initially, Sun Lingling was all prepared to support Sun Qiahung if there was really the appearance of a second child. But she then realized what Sun Qiahung meant. There would definitely not be a second child. Because of this, Sun Lingling had no more worries. Sanbao patted Sun Lingling's head. It seems that your new dad is pretty good. Auntie Su is already quite old. It's too dangerous for her to give birth to a second child. Only your heartless birth father would have such an idea. Sun Lingling stuck out her tongue and smiled. Then, she sat obediently by Sanbao's side, observing her mom being a happy bride. Because of Su Shennan's second marriage, Qiaonan had gotten busy as well. That was because Qiaonan had been the matchmaker between Su Shennan and Sun Qiahung. Qiaonan had never been interested in being the matchmaker, but she had become the matchmaker for the people around her over and over again. And she had even done a good job. Thinking about this, Qiaonan realized that there was no one else apart from her. She was no longer young and was unlike Su Shennan, who was energetic and bubbly. After attending the wedding, Qiaonan was so tired that she lay down on the sofa to catch her breath upon returning home. The previous auntie who had worked in the Zai family for 2 to 3 decades had finally retired, and Qiaonan hired another one. Thankfully, this newly hired auntie was just as hard-working as the recently retired one, had a good temper, and did not talk too much. Upon seeing that Qiaonan had returned and was fatigued, she quickly poured Qiaonan a cup of tea. Sanbao took the cup of tea from the auntie's hands and placed it in front of her mother. My dear mother, you've worked hard. My dear mother, please have some tea. Qiaonan would not reject her daughter's act of filial piety. After taking a sip, she eyed Sanbao. The sofa's so big. Why do you have to squeeze here with me? Do you have something to ask me, you curious child? Otherwise, why was Sanbao being so clingy? Sanbao laughed. The situation earlier was a little special and I was too embarrassed to ask. But I feel that there's something more to what Ling Ling said. Ling Ling said that Uncle Sun can't have another child apart from Ling Ling and that he'll treat Ling Ling as his birth daughter. Mom, does this mean that Uncle Sun isn't prepared to let Auntie Su have another child, or is there something else to this? As a university student, Sanbao knew all about that thing that went on between men and women. There were tons of elementary students who were casually calling each other husband and wife, let alone university students. As for junior high school and high school students, it no longer sufficed to just write letters and hold hands while dating. Xiao Nan sighed. This is a matter between adults. Why do you children need to know so much? Ling Ling's already said it. It's better that you just listen to whatever Ling Ling said. If you really care about Ling Ling, then you must remember one thing. Ling Ling won't have any younger siblings, and there won't be any accidents. Xiao Nan was really not in the place to tell San Bao what she meant by no accidents. San Bao could tell that her dear mother would probably get into a rage if she were to continue pursuing the matter, so she quickly raised her arms in surrender. I won't ask. I won't ask. If my dear mother won't let me ask, I'll definitely not do it. I won't ask anyone about this. I won't even mention it in the future. Don't get angry, my dear mother. Calm down. If you get angry, my dad will never let me off. It was not easy being a good person. The last time, she had almost been torn apart by her dear mother after asking about Auntie Sue's situation on Ling Ling's behalf. Today, her mother's gaze was clearly on fire. If she continued to pursue the matter, how could Bao ever compensate for that obedient little girl's image she had in her mother's eyes? San Bao begged Xiao Nan for mercy, and after appeasing her, San Bao immediately bowed her head and returned to her room to escape her mother's death glare so that her mother's anger would not return. After returning to her room, San Bao picked up her laptop and stealthily made a call to Bao. Oh, you picked up so quickly. I see that you've been waiting for my call. Then again, Bao, why are you so interested in Ling Ling's affairs? Do you care about Ling Ling's family matters, or do you care about Ling Ling? San Bao's tone was greasy. She felt that Bao's concern toward Ling Ling was rather abnormal. Had something happened between these two people behind her back? The problem was that Bao was already a university student, but Ling Ling was still young. Just like Xiao Bao, she had just entered high school. What nonsense are you spouting? Afraid that San Bao could not see his annoyance, he purposely rolled his eyes. In my eyes, Ling Ling is just like you. I treat her like my younger sister. I won't talk about you, but at least, Ling Ling is like a younger sister. So many things have happened in their family, and these all concern her future and whether she'll be able to have a good time in the future. As an elder brother, it's only right that I'm concerned about her. What's the problem? But even if I don't get you to ask about these things, do you think you'll be able to hold in your curiosity and not find out about them? He knew San Bao all too well. He had only come to ask San Bao about the matter after she had gotten a clear view of the situation. Whether or not he had asked San Bao to investigate the matter would not have any impact on San Bao's curiosity toward the matter. All right, San Bao was finally convinced by Bao. What Bao had said was the truth. Fine. I can't win against you. Don't worry. Ling Ling's life ahead will be even better than her current one. I've seen that Uncle Sun today. He's quite a decent guy. I heard that Dad was the one who took care of him in the military, and Mom was the matchmaker. With both Dad and Mom around, you can rest easy. Mom was the matchmaker? Really? Since when did Mom develop an interest in matching people together? In all his time at home, he had never seen his mom act as a matchmaker to anyone. His mom would even avoid those old grannies who were always on the lookout for unmarried young men and young ladies. Chapter 1644, Why? In general, shouldn't those who truly loved being matchmakers do that? Isn't Mom already too busy with her work at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? How did Mom find any time to act as a matchmaker? Why do I feel that sounds so rare? After saying that, Bao was overjoyed. His mom did not look like one who enjoyed matchmaking. All right, don't argue with me. I only found out about that today too. It's all thanks to Mom that Auntie Sue got married to that Uncle Sunday. If you have so many questions, you can ask Mom yourself when you're back. I've only heard so much about the matter that you asked me to find out for you. As for anything else, you'll have to go investigate on your own if you want to know more. I can't do much. If I pursue the matter any further, Mom's going to kill me. San Bao cut Bao off. Attending someone else's wedding was quite tiring, and she was already sleepy. Hearing that San Bao's voice had changed, he knew that this lass was probably getting lazy after having a good meal at the wedding. All right, I won't disturb you. Go get some rest. Okay, good night. San Bao yawned again before hanging up the phone. She quickly showered as though she was in battle, undressed, snuck under her cover, and fell right asleep. Knowing that Sun Lingling's life would only get better now that Auntie Su had gotten married, San Bao had nothing else bothering her. De Bao, who had just returned to his room with a book, saw that Bao had just gotten off the phone and asked out of curiosity, I guess the ending's not bad now that you've just gotten off the phone. Yes, San Bao told me that Auntie Su won't have another child apart from Ling Ling after getting married. Bao was still wondering whether these words could be trusted and whether there would be any changes in the future. De Bao put his book down. Is that so? It's great if that's the case. You should be happy. Auntie Su was getting remarried but was not planning on having a second child. For the rest of her life, she would have only one child, Ling Ling. As for the groom, this was his first marriage, and he did not have any illegitimate children either. So it was as simple as Ling Ling getting a new father. De Bao, do you think we can trust these words? Why do I feel that these words seem unreliable? What kind of man would not want his own child after getting married? If he doesn't want children, then why would he get married? Wouldn't it be just as good to simply date Auntie Su? Do you think it's possible that he said all these just to coax Auntie Su into marriage? Once they get married, he would find a way to get Auntie Su pregnant. I heard that it's not easy for Auntie Su to get pregnant at her age. But it won't be easy to get an abortion either because of all the ill effects on her body. Sometimes, getting an abortion might be even more dangerous than simply giving birth. If it reached that stage, that man would not only have a wife but also his own child. De Bao flicked Bao on the head. What did you just call me? De Bao and Bao had agreed that they would never use each other's nicknames at school and would only use their proper given names. But Bao had committed a folly, calling De Bao by his nickname. Classmate Zai Yi, I'll let you go just this once because I'm magnanimous. Just answer me. Zai Xin was helpless. All right, he could only hold it in since he was the one who first suggested it. But Zai Yi had hit him a little too hard, just as hard as his dad did. Zai Yi nodded in satisfaction. I don't know if Auntie Su is so gullible, but do you think that those two people from our family are so easily cheated? If this guy is unreliable and not trustworthy, Dad would never trust him and help him, especially Mom. Mom just pulled Auntie Su out of a fiery pit a few years ago. Do you think Mom can personally throw Auntie Su into another fiery pit? Even if you don't trust Auntie Su's judgment, you should at least trust our dad and Mom's. With both Jiaonan and Zai Sheng in the picture, Zai Yi did not question Sun Quaheng's character or uprightness. Zai Yi was calm, as though he knew Sun Quaheng personally and understood him well. After getting reprimanded like this, Zai Xian's face turned green. He was clearly suspicious of that man named Sun Quaheng, but Zai Yi had brought their parents into the picture to try to frame him. He was too much. He should be thankful they were in school. If they were at home, his mom would be hurt by Zai Yi's words. Humph, I guess you're right. I'm sleepy. I'm going to sleep. Zai Xian forcefully lay down on his bed, so much so that his bed made a loud squeak. Moreover, he had even switched off the lights in the bedroom before sleeping, saying that the lights were too bright. How was he supposed to fall asleep if he did not switch the lights off? In the face of Zai Xian's tantrum, Zai Yi was not the least bit angry. He knew clearly what kind of temper his younger brother had and how he kicked someone to the curb once they had outlived their usefulness. Anyway, he had already borrowed the book. His book would not run away even if he did not read it tonight. He would just have to read it the next day. Zai Yi was one who liked to strike a balance between work and rest and not just bury himself in his studies all the time. It was because of Zai Yi's cool temper that the brothers did not get into fights over trivial matters even when Zai Xin threw a tantrum. After washing up, Zai Yi lay down on his bed, covered himself with his blanket, and got ready to turn in for the night. Since Zai Yi was good with his words, Zai Xin naturally could not go overboard. Hearing that there was no sound coming from Zai Yi, Zai Xin said out of guilt, "Actually, you can just switch on a table lamp. It won't be too bright. Why don't you use the table lamp to read? Or you can just switch on half the lights. I'll just sleep with my back facing the lights." Zai Yi, who was lying in bed, smiled. He was always like that, like a child who could never grow up. "It's all right. It's quite late. I'm not going to read anymore. It's bad for the eyes to read at this hour. If my eyesight deteriorates, I won't even be able to enter the military in the future." While Zai Yi and Zai Xin placed importance on their cultural courses, they also paid great attention to their eyesights so as not to let their eyesights deteriorate. Otherwise, their dreams of joining the military would be crushed. It was already so late. The glaring lights were also not suitable for reading either. If it was not for this, Zai Yi would pay no heed to his spoilt brat of a younger brother, not even if 10 Zaizans were throwing a tantrum at the same time. "Oh," Zai Xin answered awkwardly. When he was about to fall asleep, he suddenly remembered that Zai Yi had been beating around the bush but had never given him a direct answer to his question. Instead, he had dragged their parents into the equation and even taken the chance to lecture Zai Xin. Tisk, what an annoying sesame rice ball! In that instant that Zai Xin was about to fall asleep, there was still a question in his mind: why did Sun Kuaheng get married to Su Shennan if he did not want a child of his own? Was there really such a person in the world? Chapter 1645, Accident. Initially, when Qiaonan had first gotten such a guarantee from Zai Sheng, Qiaonan had asked Zai Sheng the same question. "You said that Sun Kuaheng is one who really wants a family of his own, a man who will be responsible toward his family. If that's the case, how can you be sure that he won't have his own children in the future and be biased against Ling Ling? Even fingers have different lengths. Even mothers have their own preferences among their children. There are already so many contradictions within a nuclear family, much less a reconstructed family. I'm sure you understand what I mean. But what I'll say is that I'll not interfere in Su Shennan's choice of whether she'll accept Sun Kuaheng in the end. Even if she felt that Su Shennan's life would get more complicated after remarrying, as long as Su Shennan accepted him, Qiaonan would never do anything to sabotage Sun Kuaheng. No matter what, it was all thanks to Sun Kuaheng that Su Shennan could cut off her marriage so cleanly in the face of great loss, although Sun Kuaheng had accepted money to help avoid the disaster. Even still, one could say that Su Shennan owed Sun Kuaheng a favor. Without Sun Kuaheng, someone else could have taken Su Shennan's money. But the matter might not have been settled so cleanly, and other people might even have requested for a greater sum than Sun Kuaheng had. So, as long as the two of them were all right with each other, she would not express her opinion, and neither would she prevent Su Shennan from getting remarried. But the thought that she had acted as a matchmaker between Sun Kuaheng and Su Shennan. Qiaonan was in a hard place. "Brothers, I don't think I can be a guarantor of this matchmaking. You know Su Shennan too. Just get someone else in." If that was not possible, Brothers I himself could do it. It was not as though there were no male matchmakers. Zai Sheng trapped Qiaonan within his embrace. "Do you think it's realistic for me to be a matchmaker for them? I was the one who raised Sun Kuaheng in the military. If he had not gotten into an accident during an operation that year, he would probably be an assistant battalion commander by now. Then, Su Shennan might not even stand a chance. No matter what, there was no way an assistant battalion commander would marry a divorcee with a daughter in his first marriage. Xiao Nan retorted. You were the one who said that Senior Su wouldn't stand a chance if he was an assistant battalion commander. But is he an assistant battalion commander now? If he has such thoughts, even more so I cannot guarantee this matchmaking. His heart isn't genuine. Zai Sheng was helpless. This is purely what I think. It doesn't represent Sun Kuaheng's. Sun Kuaheng. Because he was under me, the way he looks at Su Shennan is obviously different from me. It's only normal for me to think that Su Shennan isn't deserving of him. Just like how you're biased toward Su Shennan and don't like Sun Kuaheng after listening to me. So, we have to abandon our own opinions and leave them aside from our discussion. All right. Now that Zai Sheng had said that, Xiao Nan was willing to listen and could continue their discussion. I know what you're concerned and worried about. I can tell you for sure that it won't happen. No matter what it is. Zai Sheng hugged Xiao Nan even tighter. Did he not understand his own wife? Zai Sheng had already guessed the two aspects that Xiao Nan was most worried about without her even saying anything. Firstly, children. Once Sun Kuaheng and Su Shennan had another child, Ling Ling would be in an awkward situation. Parents already had preferences among their own biological children, let alone if one was his biological child, while the other was not. It was only human nature for Sun Kuaheng to be biased toward his own biological child. The problem was that Su Shennan's maternal love had always belonged to Ling Ling alone. With another child, even if Su Shennan favored her elder daughter, Ling Ling, she would still have to split her attention and love with another younger child. Xiao Nan had a good relationship with Ling Ling. Before the situation even occurred, she had already thought of all possible scenarios and thought about them from Ling Ling's perspective. Secondly, the relationship with her in-laws. The reason for Su Shennan getting a divorce from Fang Shiyu was due to Mother Fang's influence on her son. Initially, Fang Shiyu had been quite fond of his daughter, Ling Ling. It had been Mother Fang who had nagged incessantly at her son to give her a grandson, eventually causing Fang Shiyu to be greatly disappointed in Ling Ling. And that was why this complete family eventually went through so many trials and was ruined in the end. Are you sure? Upon hearing Zai Sheng's words, Xiao Nan was in disbelief. I'm just lucky that mom treats me like her biological daughter. Even Sister Zaihua gets jealous sometimes and teases me about it. It's not that there aren't other people who have such great fortune like me, but it's really rare. I feel that finding a good mother-in-law is probably even harder than finding a good husband. Zai Sheng bit Xiao Nan on the back of her neck. So you really have a great fortune. Not only do you have a good husband, but you also have a good mother-in-law. To tell you the truth, Su Shennan won't be able to have it like you do and enjoy a good relationship with her mother-in-law if she gets married to Sun Kuaheng. Sun Kuaheng's mom is not to be trifled with. Sun Kuaheng's relationship with his mother. Zai Sheng stopped himself in time and did not try to use Xiao Nan's relationship with Ding Ji as an example. Their mother and son relationship is not very good, and Sun Kuaheng has a brother who is much younger. His mom is biased toward the younger one and has never treated Sun Kuaheng fairly since he was young. Sun Kuaheng suffered an accident and sustained severe injuries while he was on a mission. At that time, his mom committed a folly and from then on, there's been no way that the mother and son can coexist harmoniously. Sun Kuaheng only gives his mother a living allowance once a year. Even when he goes home to visit his mother, he leaves on the same day that he arrives. He never stays there overnight. With such a situation, even if Sun Kuaheng's mother was hard to deal with, as long as Su Shennan did not spend any time with this mother-in-law of hers, Sun Kuaheng's mother would have no chance to mess with Su Shennan. Zai Sheng went through it vaguely, but because of her personal experience, Xiao Nan shed a tear for Sun Kuaheng. We're in the same boat. From what she had heard, Sun Kuahung's situation was no better than hers. But it was Sun Kuahung's privacy, after all, so Zai Sheng did not talk more about it, and neither did Qiao Nan ask. There won't be a problem with her in-laws, but what about children? Didn't I say that Sun Kuahung got into an accident during a mission? That accident left him with severe injuries. He'll never be able to have his own children for the rest of his life. This was a huge blow to a man. But right when Sun Kuahung faced such a huge blow, Sun Kuahung's mother and Sun Kuoming formed an alliance to give Sun Kuahung an even greater blow, and Sun Kuahung almost did not get through it. Chapter 1646, Whose Child? Although Sun Kuahung had made it through eventually, he still bore a grudge against these closest relatives. These two people were no longer his kin, but devils. Blood-sucking devils. Zai Sheng had always paid close attention to Sun Kuahung's situation. Upon finding out about Sun Kuahung's situation, he had asked Sun Kuahung. His injuries were indeed a little embarrassing, but once he recovered, it would not hinder his participation in any further missions. With Sun Kuahung's capability, he could return to the army and make a career for himself. Otherwise, it would be a waste for such a talent like Sun Kuahung to leave the military. But Sun Kuahung rejected Zai Sheng's good intentions. It's all right, Chief. Thank you for your concern during this period of time. Without you, I don't know if I would have been able to pull through. I've spent so much of your money during my time in the hospital. I don't even know how long I'll have to work to repay this sum of money. At that time, Sun Kuahung was utterly dispirited. Perhaps, he would be gone in less than 2 years' time. He was the eldest son in the family, so he was destined to take on more responsibility from the time he was born. Mother Sun had gotten pregnant with Sun Kuoming when she was 39 years old. Given the Sun family's situation, they were not allowed to have a second child, even if they lived in the countryside. But Mother Sun had gotten an IUD according to the family planning guidelines. She had gotten pregnant accidentally. Putting that aside, Mother Sun was already considered to be having a geriatric pregnancy. When she visited the hospital for a checkup, the doctor advised Mother Sun that abortion would be even more dangerous than giving birth. Mother Sun's body was unsuitable for an abortion. If the government insisted on it, their hospital would not bear any responsibility if anything were to happen to Mother Sun in the process. It was not that Mother Sun was unwilling to abort the child. She had also followed the government guidelines by getting an IUD, but the doctor had said that she was unsuitable to get an abortion and that she might even lose her life by doing so. The government could not possibly send a person to death just for the sake of family planning. There was no other choice. After the village chief discussed the matter with the family planning department, they issued Mother Sun a special permit to give birth. After all, it was not Mother Sun's fault that she had gotten pregnant. If anything were to happen to Mother Sun because she did not give birth to the child, neither the village chief nor the family planning department was willing to bear such a hefty responsibility. They could not possibly afford to repay a life. When Mother Sun turned 40, she finally gave birth to Sun Kuoming. It could be said that Mother Sun was not the only one to have given birth to more than one child within the Sun village, but Mother Sun was the only one who had obtained a special permit and was not fined for giving birth to an additional child. It was probably because of this extraordinary circumstance that she was extremely prideful. Even while Sun Kuoming was still in her stomach, Mother Sun already placed great importance on this child. Once this child was born, Mother Sun realized that her younger son's physique was worlds apart from her elder son's. Seeing her tall and strong elder son, Mother Sun always lectured her elder son, reminding him to take good care of his younger brother, Sun Kuoming, so that no one would dare to bully him. If Sun Kuahung were to make a name for himself in the future, he had to bring his younger brother along and give him a hand. While Sun Kuahung was still studying, his academic results were still all right. He had not fared poorly on his college entrance examination, and he had managed to enter a better third-tier university. Sun Kuahung filled in his application, and as soon as his admission letter arrived, Sun Kuo-hung would be able to go to university. But Sun Kuo-ming, who was not yet 2 years old, suddenly suffered from appendicitis and had to be sent to the hospital for treatment. Chapter 1647, An Awkward Injury. Without any hesitation, Mother Sun took away half of the money that the family had saved up for Sun Kuo-hung's university fees to pay for Sun Kuo-hung's hospitalization bills. They were both his sons, so there was no reason for Father Sun to care only about his elder son while ignoring his younger son. Father Sun expressed that it was more important to save a life. In an emergency situation like this, it was all right to use this sum of money. But Mother Sun had obviously taken more than what was necessary. His younger son's hospitalization bills would not amount to such a huge sum. He asked Mother Sun to return the excess money and he would think of a way to gather more money to send his elder son to university. But Mother Sun refused. Ming Ming is still so young. It's so pitiful that he has to be hospitalized. You're only thinking about the hospitalization bills. Why don't you think about what Ming Ming will eat and drink throughout this period? Ming Ming is already sick. He has to eat nourishing food. Is that too much to ask for? I'm even afraid that I might not have taken enough money. I'm not returning it. Seeing that Father Sun was in a rage, Sun Kuo-hung tried to persuade him. Dad, don't fret over my school fees. I've heard that you can take a loan to go to school now. I'll take a loan on my own. You and Mom don't have to pay the loan either. When I get a job after graduation, I'll slowly repay the loan myself. As for my living expenses, I'll find a job to pay for it. It's all right, Dad. Sun Kuo-hung knew that his family did not earn much from farming in an entire year. It was too heavy a burden on the family to raise 2 children. Besides, his younger brother, Sun Kuo-ming, had already been weak and frail ever since he was born. When his mother was out of breast milk, the family struggled to even afford Sun Kuo-ming's milk powder. Now that he was grown up, he would take care of his own tuition fees. But no matter how much Sun Kuo-hung had planned, he could not outplan his own mother. Mother Sun asked, since you're going to take a loan, can you take a bigger loan? You see, Ming Ming is still so young. We'll have to spend a lot of money to raise him. Your dad and I are already letting you go to university. Ming Ming will need money to study in the future too. Look. Why don't you take a bigger loan for Ming Ming? Ming Ming is your biological brother after all. Sun Kuo-hung was speechless. Was it his decision to say how large of a loan he could take? Besides, this sum of money had to be repaid. If he borrowed more, he would have to repay more in the future. He did not want to increase his parents' burden, but his mom was not even afraid of increasing his burden. Can't you do that? You can't even do that? Didn't you say that you can work part-time while studying to earn some money? So just give me part of that loan. I'll save it up for Ming Ming. Go have a discussion with your teachers and tell them about our family situation. Tell them that you'll owe the school your tuition fees for the time being. When you find a job and earn some money, you'll pay off your debts. Your dad and I haven't raised you for nothing. Now, you don't even need us to pay for your tuition fees, and you can even take some money out to save it for Ming Ming. Sun Kuo-hung had not even agreed, but Mother Sun had already planned it all out for Sun Kuo-hung to prevent Sun Kuo-hung from rejecting her. Now that she had already put it so nicely, would her elder son be so shameless as to reject her? Sun Kuo-hung, who had been so considerate toward his parents' predicament, immediately lost his confidence to attend university after hearing his mother's words. His mother had made such thorough calculations, but she had not stopped to think about Sun Kuo-hung at all. He was only working part-time in whatever free time he had. How much could he possibly earn? The money he earned would barely cover his living expenses if he scrimped and saved. How would he ever be able to use his earnings to pay for his tuition fees? Even if he managed to save enough to pay off his school fees by selling his life, was he going to starve to death in school? Perhaps, it was because of his youth that he decided to forego university in an act of defiance. Instead, he decided to sign up for the military. And that was how Sun Qaohung met with a chief like Zai Sheng. Sun Qaohung stayed in the military for over 10 years, turning from a young chap in his 20s to an uncle in his 30s. When Qiao Nan and Zai Sheng's triplets entered elementary school, Sun Qaohung had not gotten married yet. Before that mission, Zai Sheng even joked with Sun Qaohung. "After you return from the mission, I'll recommend that you be promoted. Remember that you're not young anymore. It's about time you solve your personal problem. Didn't you say that you have a fiancé back in your village? Hurry and finish that marriage report. I'll approve it for you. Just as well. Take the opportunity to get a good break after you're back from this mission and get married. It'll be best to have a child at the same time." At that time, Sun Qaohung himself felt that he was no longer young and could not keep that lady waiting for him. As such, he answered Zai Sheng's order very seriously. "Don't worry, Chief. I promise I'll finish the task you've assigned to me." But who would have known that Sun Qaohung would get into an accident during this mission, and an explosion would go off between his legs. Upon hearing that Sun Qaohung had been hospitalized, Mother Sun brought Sun Qaoming and Sun Qaohung's fiancé to the capital to visit Sun Qaohung. Zai Sheng was delighted to hear this piece of news and felt that Sun Qaohung had not sent money back to his family in vain all these years. But what had happened afterward caught everyone off guard. The sight of Sun Qaohung's injury was too sensitive, and after checking on Sun Qaohung, the doctor privately told Sun Qaohung that his injury would not affect his missions in the future, and neither would it affect Sun Qaohung as a man. A normal married life was still possible. It was just that it would be much harder for Sun Qaohung to get a woman pregnant in the future. Because of that explosion, almost all of Sun Qaohung's sperm tubes were broken. Sun Qaohung was stunned and unable to respond for a long time. No one knew how Mother Sun managed to learn of the news. But in short, she was in no way less capable than the scouts in the military. Upon understanding the situation, she immediately discussed the matter with Sun Qaohung. "Qaohung, I know all about what happened. Don't worry. Mom will stay by your side. The most important thing right now is for you to get married with Yanyan as soon as possible." Sun Qaohung's heart warmed. "Mom, I can't do that. I can't hurt Yanyan like that. Yanyan is a good 7 years younger than me. Now that I'm in this state, I can't possibly take away Yanyan's chance of being a mother, right? I'll personally explain my situation to Yanyan and call off the engagement. She can find a better man in the future. It's all right. Yanyan already knows about your situation, and she's even willing to marry you. Besides, there's no need to worry, Qaohung. No one else apart from our family knows about this. No one will laugh at you for this. Mom has a way of letting you become a dad." Mother Sun's eyes twinkled. Chapter 1648, Already Pregnant. Sun Qaohung, who had just been moved by his mother's words, was momentarily stunned. "How can I still become a father in my state? It's not that I can't adopt a child, but he won't look anything like me. The whole village will find out about this." Since it was already a fact, there was no need to deceive himself and others. If he was going to adopt a child, he would do it openly. Nonetheless, he was not going to be able to be a father anymore. But there was nothing wrong with Yanyan's body. She could marry a normal man and have her own biological child. "No, don't worry. No one will be able to tell." Mother Sun's words got even stranger, making Sun Qaohung pause. "It's normal that the child won't resemble me if it's not my child. It'll be even weirder if other people can't tell, right?" Mother Sun hesitated for a moment before pouring a glass of water for Sun Qaohung. "Qaohung, listen to me. You can't blame Qaoming for this. It's just that Yanyan and he are both still young, and they've spent a lot of time together. It's understandable that they were a little reckless. I've already scolded Ming Ming, and he won't do it again in the future. He'll treat Yan as his sister-in-law, and Yan will live honestly as your wife. She's already pregnant, but no matter what, it's still your brother's child. It'll be too ruthless to just abort the child. Knowing that her elder daughter-in-law had gotten pregnant with her younger son's child, Mother Sun was both infuriated and frenzied. She was not mad at her son for committing this act, but at Yan for having seduced her younger son. Everyone in the village knew that her elder son had done well and was now a company commander in the military. The secretary's daughter and her younger son were dating and were even going to get married next year. If the secretary's family found out that Yan had gotten pregnant with her younger son's child, would they still allow their daughter to get married to her younger son? That was impossible. But because she loved her younger son, she loved everything of his as well. Just the thought of the child in Yan's stomach being her younger son's, namely her grandchild, Mother Sun could not bear to force Yan to abort the child. This time, the three of them had all come together to visit Sun Kuahung to make a good meal for Sun Kuahung. After that, they would make him get drunk and put him naked on a bed along with Yan. A month later, Yan would then say that she had gotten pregnant with Sun Kuahung's child. Then, Sun Kuahung would not get suspicious of anything. As long as Yan got pregnant, she would find an excuse to stay by Yan's side to help her through the pregnancy. After 10 months, she would simply tell Sun Kuahung that Yan had a premature birth, and this matter would simply end just like that. But they did not expect that the moment they arrived, they learned that Sun Kuahung had gotten injured. Mother Sun saw that Sun Kuahung's expression had changed for the worse after discussing his condition with the doctor. Mother Sun had then taken a lot of effort to find out about Sun Kuahung's condition. At this, Mother Sun rejoiced. Sun Kuahung would never be able to have a child of his own in the future. It was just as well that Yan's child would be left to Sun Kuahung. Just thinking about such a shameless thing, Sun Kuahung was unable to face such a situation himself. Not only had Yan slept with his brother before getting married to him, but she had even gotten pregnant with his brother's child. But because of a man's pride, he would not only have to bear with this adultery, but he would also have to act happy about it and acknowledge his nephew as his own son. Mother Sun did not say this explicitly, but Sun Kuahung was no fool. Quite on the contrary, he was very intelligent and understood what his mother meant in an instant. Just thinking about how his fiancé was carrying his own brother's child made Sun Kuahung suffer an even bigger blow than the news that he would never be a father. Moreover, he had to listen to Mother Sun chat idly about how he should hand over the compensation that he would receive from the military for this accident so that she could spend the money on his son and nourish his son well so that he could eventually go to university. At this, Sun Kuahung finally exploded and asked Mother Sun to scram along with Sun Kuoming and Yan. One had messed around with his future sister-in-law, while the other had slept with her future brother-in-law. Sun Kuahung was utterly disgusted by the two of them. Sun Kuoming could have been birthed by father and Mother Sun, but he was raised on Sun Kuahung's money. Yan was a young lady from the neighboring village, and her family had intended on exchanging her for her brother's marriage. However, the other party was not just an old man in his late 30s but even had a history of abuse. His first wife had not been able to withstand the abuse and had committed suicide by jumping into the river. Yan refused to get married to that guy and kicked up a huge fuss. When she went home during a holiday, she happened to chance upon Sun Kuahung, who helped her out of that marriage. Afterward, Yan insisted on repaying Sun Kuahung. Since her parents had taken Sun Kuahung's money to get her younger brother married, she would get married to Sun Kuahung. Compared with the man she was initially going to marry, Sun Kuahung was a few years younger, better looking, and was even a soldier. At that time, Sun Kuahung was already a platoon leader. After that scare, someone like Sun Kuahung was already a prince charming that the heavens had sent to her as a gift. Yan knew that she was not being taken advantage of by marrying Sun Kuahung. On the contrary, this was even out of her reach. At first, Sun Kuahung had not agreed to it. But what he had not expected was for his mother to organize an engagement party for Yanyan and him when he was back in the military. That was how Sun Kuahung got a fiancé. Back in the village, there was no much difference between engagement and marriage. If Sun Kuahung insisted on not having Yanyan, there was no way for Yanyan to get married to anyone else. Whether he liked it or not, he would ruin that young lady's reputation if he were to refuse. Now that matters had progressed to this stage, Sun Kuahung had no choice but to take on this responsibility. After the couple got engaged, Sun Kuahung would occasionally send Yanyan some money so that she would have the chance to buy some books to study and so that she would not shortchange herself when it came to food. But what he did not know was that Yanyan had spent all of his money on beautifying herself. Otherwise, she would not have found herself pregnant with Sun Kuoming's child. In short, be it Sun Kuoming or Yanyan, Sun Kuahung had a clear conscience. It was exactly these two people who came together and betrayed him. One could only imagine what a huge blow this was to Sun Kuahung. What Sun Kuahung could not accept the most was that these people could still say that they were young and impulsive. It was as though Mother Sun's brain was empty to think of asking Sun Kuahung to acknowledge his nephew as his son and even marry Yanyan to carry this burden while he was sick. Of course, there was no way Sun Kuahung could agree to such a ludicrous request. After chasing the three of them away, Sun Kuahung gave up on himself and refused to receive any further treatment. Chapter 1649, Still a nephew, if not a son. Sun Kuahung felt as though his life was meaningless with such family members. The only one who supported him in the family was his father, but he had passed away 3 years ago. Perhaps it was because his father was no longer around that Yanyan had the chance to be with Sun Kuoming. Otherwise, with his father around, Sun Kuoming would never dare to be too close with his future sister-in-law, let alone have a child together. If they had gotten too close, his father would have broken Sun Kuoming's leg just to warn him. After hearing about Sun Kuahung's past, Xiao Nan was speechless. I think that Sun Kuahung is almost like a duplicate of me. What nonsense are you spouting? Zai Sheng's expression hardened. Nothing has gone on between me and Xiao Zijin. In so many years, I've not even spoken more than 10 sentences to her. So, how was Nan Nan like Sun Kuahung? Nan Nan's words were an insult to him. No matter how poor his judgment was, he would never take a fancy to Xiao Zijin. He, Xiao Nan laughed dryly. She could not possibly say that Sun Kuahung's situation was similar to hers in her past life, right? Ding Ji was biased toward her elder child, while Mother Sun was biased toward her younger one. She and Sun Kuahung had both been the ones to be cast aside, the ones who had lost their opportunities to further their studies and the ones who had to use their hard-earned money to support their mother's favored child. The worst part was that Sun Kuahung's fiancé was even carrying Sun Kuoming's child. Xiao Zijin had forced Chen Jun to break up with her because she was pregnant. What happened afterward? Xiao Nan interrupted. After the matter got to this point, what happened to that child in that woman, Yanyan's, stomach? Sun Kuahung's mother could have taken care of the engagement, but there's no way a wedding could have happened without Sun Kuahung around, right? Actually, she did intend to do it without him. A cold gaze flashed through Zai Sheng's eyes. Sun Kuahung's mom had planned on organizing the wedding just as she had done for his engagement. I'm sure you know that in the countryside, holding a wedding means that you're married. Sun Kuahung's mom even told the villagers that Yanyan was already pregnant with Sun Kuahung's child. It was just that Sun Kuahung was too busy in the military to return home. There was no other choice. The Sun family could only do Yanyan this wrong and excuse Sun Kuahung from his own wedding. All right. Sun Kuahung's mother was the true powerhouse. Go on. Sun Kuahung had probably guessed that his mother would do such a thing, so he made a call to the village secretary. He told the secretary that he was a soldier and spent too little time at home. Because Yanyan was still young, it was expected that she would not be able to wait for him. Since Yanyan already had someone in mind and had even become pregnant with his child, he would not ask for Yanyan to return whatever money he had given to her and her family. He would just let her have her freedom. But from then on, he would have nothing to do with Yanyan. He would break off the engagement and wish Yanyan happiness in her future. Sun Kuaheng's mother had organized a huge wedding party in the village and had even told everyone that the baby in Yanyan's stomach was Sun Kuaheng's. But who would have expected that Sun Kuaheng would make a phone call back to say that Yanyan had not been able to wait for him and that the baby in her stomach was not his. Sun Kuaheng, who had been cheated on, was not even going to pursue the matter. He even wished Yanyan well. Of course, the village secretary was no fool. He had been wondering about the matter because he knew that Sun Kuaheng was not an impulsive child. Sun Kuaheng was a soldier. If he wanted to get married legally, he would have to write a marriage report no matter what. That was how all soldiers got married. Sun Kuaheng could not have become so unreliable suddenly to have made such a huge mistake on this one important event in his life. Besides, Yanyan had only just left the village with mother-son a while ago. In total, they had returned in about a month, and they were already saying that Yanyan had gotten pregnant. Even if Yanyan had gone to visit Sun Kuaheng with mother-son, could she really get pregnant so quickly and find out within a month? Did they really think that no one else had any experience of being young and having children? Sun Kuaheng had said that the baby in Yanyan's stomach was not his but another man's. But the strange thing was that Sun Kuaheng's mother had made a huge fuss the moment they returned to the village and had even organized a wedding for the couple. She had even announced that Sun Kuaheng was about to be a father. This whole matter was just too strange. Sun Kuaheng was a man after all. If he was certain that the baby in Yanyan's stomach was not his child, there was no reason for the secretary to doubt him. But if the baby in Yanyan's stomach was not Sun Kuaheng's, why had mother-son forced Sun Kuaheng to acknowledge it? After thinking through and about how mother-son had been all smiles when talking about her grandchild in Yanyan's stomach, the secretary came up with a very frightening idea. It was his future in-law's favorite son, Sun Kuoming. It was because of this that he had allowed his daughter to date and get engaged to Sun Kuoming. Initially, Sun Kuaheng was almost 27 years old when he finally got engaged to Yanyan. Mother-son had not even been particularly happy on the day of the engagement. That was totally unlike her behavior when Sun Kuoming got engaged to his daughter. Many people had commented that mother-son was over the moon, so happy that her mouth was almost crooked from smiling. Naturally, mother-son would not care for her eldest grandson if it were to come from Sun Kuaheng. And no one could even be certain that this was going to be a grandson. Thinking about how Sun Kuoming would turn around to look at Yanyan's stomach from time to time, there was nothing that the secretary did not understand anymore. No matter how frightening his suspicions were, there was nothing as frightening as the truth. In an instant, the secretary's expression darkened. Kuaheng's mom, Kuaheng just called me. He said that the baby in Yanyan's stomach is not his and that Yanyan already has someone she fancies. He's a soldier and can't spend much time with Yanyan. So he doesn't blame Yanyan for falling in love with another man or even getting pregnant with that man's child. Kuaheng said that he'll just disregard his marriage to Yanyan and that Yanyan can get married to the child's father. He even wished Yanyan well. Kuaheng's mom, what are you trying to do by organizing this wedding? Are you so desperate to become a grandmother? The secretary's words were like a bolt out of the blue, stunning all the villagers who had come to attend the wedding. The baby in Yanyan's stomach is not Kuaheng's? So it's some other man's. Yanyan, who had been laughing and smiling joyfully, immediately turned pale, and she began trembling in fear. She had never expected that Sun Kuaheng would never be able to father a child in his whole life but still be unwilling to accept his nephew who was in her stomach. She did not even mind that Sun Kuaheng was a man without any seeds, and she was even willing to marry Sun Kuaheng and spend her life with him. But Sun Kuaheng was so ruthless to refuse to marry her and give her baby a chance to live. He had to know that the baby in her stomach would call Sun Kuahung dad and was even Sun Kuahung's biological nephew. Could Sun Kuahung really bear to watch his nephew die in front of his eyes? Chapter 1650, Not going to be taken advantage of. Could Sun Kuahung bear to see his mom lose all dignity so much so that she would no longer be able to live in this village? Secretary, why are you making such a joke on such a joyous occasion? Kuahung could not possibly have made such a call. Look at the villagers. They all believe what you just said. Mother Sun herself got a huge shock, but she did not believe that Sun Kuahung would disobey her like that. Since he was young, Sun Kuahung had always listened to his mom. When his father was still around, Sun Kuahung was most obedient to his father. Now that his father was no longer around, Sun Kuahung listened well to her. The child in Yanyan's stomach was Kuahung's own nephew. There was no reason for him to dislike him. Besides, Yanyan was a fiancé that Kuahung had picked out for himself. She had organized this wedding for Kuahung and Yanyan without even asking for a single cent from Kuahung. She was doing it for free. Kuahung should be rejoicing over this. She did not believe that he would disrespect her by saying such things that would only serve to embarrass her. What do you mean it's not true? This is exactly what Kuahung said. The secretary was not blind. The moment he said those words, those of the Sun family's expressions looked strange, especially the new bride Yanyan, who was shaking and trembling. Even a blind man would be able to feel Yanyan's fear. If Yanyan did not have a guilty conscience, would she have such a reaction? Kuahung's mom, let me ask you. If the child in Yanyan's stomach is not Kuahung's, then whose is it? Everyone was still wondering how Yanyan managed to get pregnant with Kuahung's child when you guys came back within a month of leaving. You're someone who has given birth to 2 children. What kind of woman can immediately find out about her pregnancy within a month? I've calculated the timings for you, starting from the very day you guys left the village. Based on what you've said, you really wasted no time at all. While Yanyan was still traveling, she already got pregnant with Kuahung's child. Pray tell me how Kuahung managed to impregnate Yanyan. Through a dream. Yanyan was not only 1 month pregnant. By the time Mother Sun found out about it, Yanyan was already 2 months pregnant. In addition to the month that they were away visiting Sun Kuahung, Yanyan would soon be 4 months pregnant, and her belly would be showing. Because Yanyan had already been pregnant for a while, Mother Sun had intentionally made her calculations on the timings so as to make it seem as though Yanyan had only gotten pregnant after visiting Sun Kuahung. But a lie was still a lie and could not withstand scrutiny. Once the secretary did his own calculations, the question of Yanyan's pregnancy was now out in the open. Let me ask you again. Whose child is that in Yanyan's stomach? The secretary's expression darkened. No matter how much Mother Sun disliked Sun Kuahung, she was still closer to him than Yanyan was. Not only was Sun Kuahung Mother Sun's biological son, but it was also only because of Sun Kuahung that the Sun family's life had improved drastically over the years. It was Sun Kuahung's salary that had sustained them all these years. Yanyan's existence was just an additional cost to Sun Kuahung. Even knowing that the child in Yanyan's stomach was not Sun Kuahung's, Mother Sun was still able to joyfully organize a wedding for Yanyan, and even address the child in her stomach as her eldest grandson. The only possibility was that the child in Yanyan's stomach was indeed Mother Sun's grandson, but the child's father was Sun Kuoming. The secretary thought about how Sun Kuoming had already gotten engaged with his daughter, but Sun Kuoming had done something to wrong his daughter even before their marriage. Sun Kuoming had not only gotten into an affair with his own sister-in-law but had also gotten her pregnant, and he was even trying to push the blame to Sun Kuahung. At this, the secretary was incensed. All the villagers heard your previous words. The child in Yanyan's stomach is your eldest grandson. I don't know about anything else, and neither will I ask. Today, I'll end with this. Let's call off the engagement between Arnir and Sun Kuoming. When the two of them got engaged, we received quite a lot of things from you. We'll return every single item to you." With that said, the secretary left in a huff. If anything were to happen in the village in the future, Mother Sun would never get to take advantage of her status as his in-law. What a joke! The only normal one in the Sun family was their son, Kua Hung. Unfortunately, Old Sun had died early. Otherwise, Old Sun could still take control and reign in this mess of a family. "No, secretary. Listen to me. This is a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. The child in Yunyan's stomach is really Kua Hung's. Kuoming has such a great relationship with Urnir. It's too much of a pity to separate the two of them. Besides, they're already getting married next year. How can you make them break up now? I don't agree. It's a misunderstanding. It's just a misunderstanding. Secretary, don't listen to Sun Kua Hung's nonsense. He's just being a brat. He dared to do it, but he doesn't dare to admit to it. That child in Yunyan's stomach is really Sun Kua Hung's." Mother Sun was angry and anxious all at the same time, and she ran after the secretary. How could she just let Sun Kuoming's secretary father-in-law run off just like that? Mother Sun knew that Sun Kuoming's health was not as good as Sun Kua Hung's ever since he was young. As such, she wanted Sun Kua Hung to take good care of Sun Kuoming. But it would all depend on Sun Kua Hung's conscience as to how much he would take care of his younger brother when she was gone. So instead of relying on others, she decided to do something on her own. There was no way she could bear to let Sun Kuoming join the military like Sun Kua Hung. As for doing something else, Sun Kuoming's academic results had never been stellar and could not even compare to Sun Kua Hung's in the past. Since he was talented in neither literary nor military aspects, the only thing that Sun Kuoming could show was his literacy. In a village with a whole bunch of illiterates, Sun Kua Hung was considered to be highly educated. Mother Sun had the idea that Sun Kuoming could ride on Sun Kua Hung's laurels and become a party coder in the village. Then, even when she was gone and even if Sun Kua Hung only took care of his own family, Sun Kuoming's life would not be too bad either. Coincidentally, the Sun family had caught the eye of the secretary, who had a daughter, and the two young ones had clicked immediately. The secretary was not young and would retire in a few years' time. Mother Sun knew that as long as the secretary was willing to take on her son and help out, her son would inherit the position of secretary in the village. Who cared whether the villagers had to vote? The villagers all trusted in the secretary. As long as the secretary backed Sun Kuoming up and vouched for him as a good comrade, there was no way the villagers would oppose or not pick Sun Kuoming as their next secretary. But now, if Sun Kuoming's marriage with the secretary's daughter were to fall through, then Mother Sun's efforts would all be in vain, and her plan would fail. Without the secretary as a father-in-law, there was no way Sun Kuoming would join the core leadership of the village with his own capabilities, let alone become the secretary. I don't care about that. The secretary was annoyed by Mother Sunday. Thankfully, Kua Hung was honest and did not think that his family's dirty linen should not be aired in public. Otherwise, his daughter, Nir, might even get married to Sun Kuoming and give birth to his child before finally finding out that Yunyan's child was actually Sun Kuoming's as well. If that day were to come, their family would have no choice but to accept it. The more infuriating part was that Sun Kuoming would still be his son-in-law and his grandchild's father. And because of that, he would have no choice but to support Sun Kuoming and help him rise up to hold the secretarial position.